Welcome back, traveler. The harbor lights are glowing softly tonight, just as they always do. Their reflections drift across the quiet water of DreamHarbour, where the tide moves gently between waking and dreaming. The wooden docks creak now and then beneath the weight of no hurry at all, and a mild breeze carries the scent of salt, rain, and distant gardens. I have been here waiting as I always am, and tonight I would like to tell you a story called The Baker Who Followed the Evening Train. So settle comfortably for a little while. Listen to the water against the harbor stones. Watch the lanterns sway with the tide. Our voyage is ready to begin. Far beyond a valley filled with green meadows and winding streams, there was a village where every morning smelled faintly of warm bread. In that village lived a baker named Rowan. Rowan was not famous for his baking, though his bread was very good. He was not known for making the largest loaves or the sweetest pastries. Instead, people remembered him because he always seemed content. When dawn arrived, he baked. When afternoon came, he shared stories with customers. When evening settled over the rooftops, he sat quietly outside his bakery and watched the clouds drift across the fading sky. It was a simple life, and he liked it very much. One evening, as the last sunlight rested upon the hills, Rowan heard a distant train whistle. That was not unusual. A railway passed through the valley, connecting villages scattered among forests and rivers. Yet something about that particular whistle felt different. It sounded slower somehow, softer, as though the train itself was in no hurry to reach its destination. Rowan listened until the sound faded into the evening air. The next day, he heard it again, and the day after that, always at sunset, always gentle, always unhurried. Eventually, his curiosity grew warm enough to follow. So one evening, after the day's bread had been sold and the bakery floor had been swept clean, Rowan locked the door and walked toward the station at the edge of the village. The station was small, only a wooden platform beneath a canopy of old trees. The leaves rustled softly overhead. A few lanterns glowed beneath the gathering twilight. And there, waiting beside the platform, stood a train unlike any Rowan had seen before. Its carriages were painted in shades of deep blue and silver. Its windows glowed with warm amber light. Soft steam drifted upward like clouds searching for the stars. The conductor smiled when Rowan approached. "You seem expected," he said gently. Rowan found this surprising, but somehow it felt perfectly natural. So he climbed aboard. The train began moving almost immediately. Not quickly, not slowly, just steadily enough that the world outside seemed to drift rather than pass. Rowan settled beside a window. The seat cushions were soft. The carriage smelled faintly of cedar wood and fresh tea. Outside, fields rolled beneath the twilight sky. The last birds crossed the horizon. The first stars began appearing one by one. For a long while, Rowan simply watched. Nothing asked him to hurry. Nothing demanded his attention. The rhythm of the wheels upon the rails became a kind of music, a quiet song repeating itself again and again. Soon the train arrived at a meadow Rowan had never seen before. Moonlight rested upon tall grasses. Silver flowers swayed gently in the breeze. A handful of passengers stepped off the train. None seemed rushed. Each carried a peaceful expression, as though they had arrived exactly where they wished to be. The train waited patiently, then continued onward. The journey unfolded this way throughout the evening. At one stop, Rowan saw a village built among gentle hills where every rooftop held small gardens. At another, he glimpsed an orchard stretching beneath hundreds of softly glowing lanterns hanging from ancient branches. At another, he watched a river curve through fields of wildflowers, its surface reflecting the stars above. Each place felt welcoming. Each place felt calm, and yet none seemed to be the destination. The train simply continued. The wheels sang their steady song. The stars slowly multiplied overhead, and Rowan felt lighter with every passing mile. Eventually, he noticed an elderly woman seated across from him. She was knitting a long scarf of pale blue yarn. The movement of her hands was slow and peaceful. Neither passenger spoke for some time. There seemed no need. Finally, she smiled. Lovely evening for traveling. It is, Rowan agreed. The woman nodded. Sometimes the journey itself is enough. Then she returned to her knitting, and Rowan returned to the window. The conversation lingered with him. Sometimes the journey itself is enough. The words felt true, like something he had always known, but never quite placed into language. Outside, distant hills rose beneath the moonlight. Small streams shone among the grasslands. Mist drifted lazily across valleys. The world appeared softer now. Edges blurred. Colors deepened. The train continued forward with patient certainty. Hours seemed to stretch and loosen, not disappearing, simply becoming gentler. At one point, Rowan wandered through the carriages. He discovered a dining car where passengers quietly sipped tea beside glowing lamps. He found a lounge where travelers sat reading or gazing through wide windows of the passing night. In another carriage, soft music drifted from a piano, played so gently that it felt almost woven into the sound of the wheels themselves. Everywhere he looked, people seemed comfortable, present, at ease. No one appeared concerned with arriving. No one seemed worried about leaving. The train carried everyone exactly where they needed to be, and somehow that felt enough. Rowan eventually returned to his seat. The stars outside had become countless. The moon hung low above distant mountains. Clouds drifted slowly across the sky. The gentle movement of the carriage felt almost like floating. He rested his head against the window. The cool glass touched his temple. The rhythmic sound of the rails continued beneath him. Steady, comforting, predictable, a companion to the quiet night. As the train traveled onward, Rowan began thinking about his bakery, about the scent of warm bread before sunrise, about neighbors greeting one another in the morning, about familiar streets, about ordinary days. The thoughts brought him peace. He realized he did not need a grand adventure. He did not need distant achievements. The life waiting for him at home was already full of small wonders. The train had not shown him anything extraordinary. It had simply given him the space to notice what was already beautiful. The realization settled gently inside him, like a blanket being drawn across tired shoulders. Nothing dramatic, nothing sudden, just warmth, just understanding. The train continued through the sleeping countryside. Villages appeared and faded. Forests drifted past like quiet dreams. Streams glimmered beneath bridges. Lanterns glowed in distant windows. Everywhere, the night seemed peaceful. Everywhere, the world seemed content to rest. Eventually, Rowan noticed the train beginning to slow. The wheels softened their rhythm. The motion became calmer still. Outside, familiar fields appeared beneath the moonlight. The valley had returned. The station stood waiting beneath its canopy of trees. The train came to a gentle stop. The conductor smiled once more. Home again. Rowan stepped onto the platform. The evening air felt cool and pleasant. Above him, stars shimmered quietly. Behind him, the train waited for only a moment. It moved onward. Its lantern-lit carriages drifted into the distance. Its whistle sounded softly one final time, and then it was gone. Rowan walked home through silent streets. The bakery stood exactly where he had left it. The windows reflected the moonlight. The door opened with a familiar creak. Everything felt the same, and yet somehow everything felt a little warmer, a little brighter, a little more precious. He slept deeply that night, and in the days that followed, he continued baking bread and greeting neighbors and watching evening clouds. Nothing changed, and that was the gift, because now he noticed the beauty within those ordinary moments. The warmth of an oven, the sound of distant birds, the golden light of sunset upon the village roofs, the simple comfort of returning home. And little by little, the story of Rowan begins to drift away now. The valley grows softer. The bakery grows quieter. The evening train becomes only a distant memory upon gentle rails. The stars remain. The stillness remains. And far beyond that quiet countryside, DreamHarbour waits. The harbor lights glow across calm water. The tide moves softly between worlds. Travelers arrive as they always have, as they always will. The docks rest beneath the night sky. The lanterns sway gently in the breeze, and I remain here beside the water, watching over the harbor between waking and dreaming. The voyage is complete. Nothing more is needed. Only the sound of quiet waves. Only the glow of familiar lights. Only the peaceful feeling of having arrived somewhere safe. The harbor remembers. The tide remembers. And DreamHarbour remembers you. The water laps softly against the shore. The lanterns continue their patient dance upon the dark water. Everything grows still. Everything grows quiet. And sleep may come whenever it wishes. I will be here again tomorrow night, waiting beside the harbor lights with another story ready for another gentle voyage. Until then, traveler, good night.